Hello and welcome to the Cardiac Cats YouTube channel. I'm your host, Jacob Shorba, and today we're doing one of our last videos before the draft as I talk about some of my favorite players from the 2025 draft class. So I've got 7 guys here. We're going to go in order of lowest ranked to highest ranked. All these players I do have within my top 100, even if by the skin of my teeth, because the first one is literally 100th and the second is 99th. But these are all players that I've fallen in love with at some point in the class for various reasons. And so I'm going to discuss them and why I do like these prospects a lot. So we're going to start out at a position that I do actually think the Jaguars should seriously consider investing in. And that is the safety position, Hunter Wohler. And more specifically here, I would be talking about strong safety. I think this team has a lot of free safety type players. As far as the strong safety position, you have Eric Murray, who you got from the Houston Texans, which who knows how long you keep him around. And then it's Antonio Johnson, who has been better as a slot cornerback. So I would rather have him in that type of role with this team. So I think this is a position where you could look for a long-term starter. And with Hunter Wohler, I do not think this is, let me be clear, I don't think this is some incredible start at the NFL level. But I think this is a very reliable player. I think he is a good prospect. I don't think he has clear, massive weaknesses. And I think he's someone who's just been completely overlooked since summer scouting. Originally, he was one of the first names that you would hear with the safety position. He had a fine year, maybe a little bit worse than 2023, which was obviously incredible if you go by the PFF grades. But Hunter Wohler, he's the same guy. And this is someone as well that on top of being a pretty big, strong safety, having a great build for it, and offering a lot, you can see, based off my grades in run defense, he's good in coverage. Maybe not a guy who's going to have a ton of turnovers for you, but he plays physical. And one of the things that, Wisconsin's going to be missing from him now is the leadership ability. This was someone who demanded excellence out of his team. He is one of those guys that you want in your locker room. So I'm a big fan of Hunter Wohler. You can see at the bottom my new grading system as well. I have updated this recently. There's no formula or anything like that, but it is simply just a way to have basically more grades I can give players. And it's generally based off what you'll find on like the NFL website, where you'll have like a player will be ranked like a 6.25, and that's an average starter. This is tweaked a little bit, and there's always something in parentheses to show what it means. But for me, I think Hunter Wohler is someone who, at bare minimum, I think he is a good backup, and I think he is a potential starter in the NFL. You look at some of the other things from him as well on the left side of your screen. The 40-yard dash, he's not an incredible athlete, right? I mean, he's a big, strong safety. But still, I mean, he moves well enough. He's not like someone who's just a major liability in this regard. But I'm obviously not going to have him playing free safety a bunch for me. I want him to be in the box. I want him to be involved against the run. And I think he's going to be very effective in that type of role. And I would be very comfortable if he ends up having a start for me. At bare minimum, I just look at this as a pick that if this is available, day 3 at any point, probably later, if you want to get, really good value out of it, I feel great about this guy coming in and just at bare minimum being a good backup who can take the field if we have injuries. So I'm a big fan of Hunter Wohler. Do not hear his name at all now. It's very disappointing, but he is definitely one of my guys. And going from the 100th ranked prospect I have to the 99th ranked prospect for me, that is Benjamin Jurasik. Now, he's another guy I've been a big fan of since the start, and I will probably say I was a bigger fan of Jurasik than Wohler. With Wohler, a lot of this just feels like a lot of people just kind of throw him aside, and that's part of the reason why I do like him so much, because I do think he's a good prospect. But with Jurasik, this is someone you barely hear about, right? He is a former player from Stanford. He transferred this year to Georgia, and why he got forgotten so quickly was because when he went to Georgia, he spent pretty much the whole first half of the year not being on the field a ton. He had to earn his way into snaps there. The whole new system. It was a bold move from him to go there. But you saw a player that, look, he is a receiving tight end. He's clearly built that way. He's 6'4", 242. He's got an awesome frame as well. 33-inch arms at the tight end position. It's pretty damn good. He's got a fast 40-yard dash. Might be the fastest, I think, of the tight ends this year. A good 10-yard split as well. This is a very good athlete. What you didn't have as much with Jurasic before was his ability as a blocker. Didn't do a lot of that at Stanford. There was effort, but just not the greatest player there. And there's surely things he can still improve. But when he went to Georgia to earn time on the field, he had to step his game up there. He had to contribute in that regard, and he managed to do it. You saw him fighting like hell on plays to block guys, and he was a lot more reliable in that regard. And so I look at Jurasic as someone who, he might not be my long-term answer as a starter at tight end. I mean, it's possible he could develop into that. I still think he can get better. But this is a player that would be a really important part of my rotation and someone who can start for me if necessary as that receiving tight end who I can also have on the field as a blocker. You could also get dynamic with how you use him. You could have that kind of like more Ben Sinnott type of role. Maybe he plays a little bit of fullback and you want to do different things like that. I think he could be a really fun player that maybe he's not a starter. He could be, but he can at least be a very important part of your game plan overall. So he's a player I really like that people just look at and say, yeah, this guy did not have a ton of receiving production this year. He must have sucked or he must have fallen off. But it wasn't really the player getting worse or anything like that. It was the situation changing. And as a player, I would say Benjamin Jurasic is a better prospect now than he was coming out of 2023. So that's another guy I'm a big fan of. I have a 6.16 grade on him. 6.2 would be a starter. So I think he's very close, but just maybe not there. And we'll have to prove that in the NFL. Now, getting into guys that I do think will be starters, and we take a big jump up my list here too. And this is probably the highest rank you'll ever see for this guy, to be honest. But 47th overall on my big board, Kyle Monangai out of Rutgers. And I don't think it's too crazy to say it's 47th. And part of my reason here, think about the Rams for a moment. If everyone has probably watched their like draft videos from last year, just trying to get to know James Gladstone, one of the things you would have heard in that was that they had Blake Corum as a top 50 prospect that year. And that is one of the comps for Kyle Monangai. I would say Blake Corum is a player who's very similar to in the way he jukes out defenders, maintains the speed, but also Kyron Williams. I think that's a great comp for the way Kyle Monangai plays the game. I think getting Kyle Monangai on your team, if he comes to Jacksonville, I think he's immediately the workhorse back. I think he could earn that role. Maybe they're slow to give him it, but I think he's more than capable of it. You have a player who is incredibly physical with defenders. He is going to bring that element to your team. He is going to change the mentality of your rushing attack. He's someone who doesn't fumble. And one of the things that I want to note here, you're looking at all these red numbers on the side of the screen, right? And keep in mind, like with the arm, wing, and hand size, all that stuff, like it doesn't matter a ton for running back. We kind of want you to be small, right? It's a good thing like Ashton Genty 5'8". Like we like that sort of thing. It makes it harder to get you down. It lowers your center of gravity. Going to help you be more, be able to stay on your balance more. There's good things from it. In Monangai, as far as weight as well, I mean, he's a pretty big back. But you look at the 40-yard dash and you look at the 10-yard split. Yeah, 4.6 isn't great. What matters to me here is the 10-yard split. He is an explosive back. And while he may not have these like 60-yard home runs down the field like more than once a year, he is going to be someone that when he sees the hole, and you see this all the time on film with him, when that hole opens up, he is gone. He is quick to get going. He accelerates really fast, and he will get out of the way, and he will get yards for you really quick. He is a phenomenal running back in that regard. My favorite play of Kyle Monangai's I've ever watched, and this will give you an idea for just the top end play that you can see from him. It's against Washington. They're backed up pretty much at their goal line. He's supposed to run up the middle sees the needs to go outside, bounces outside, and he's breaking tackles for probably about 30 or 40 yards down the field. I mean, just bulldozing people, just phenomenal contact balance. I think there's so many things to really like about Kyle Monangai. You even talk about as a blocker here. I mean, I have an S tier grade on him. He is someone who brings the juice in that regard. But Kyle Monangai gets overlooked by people because, okay, 23, don't like that, and he's not a great athlete, right? Because they just look at that 40-yard dash and they're like, this isn't that great. I mean, like, it's part of the reason why he was not recruited so heavily in college and why he went to Rutgers at the end of the day. But I just don't look at it like that. I watched the film. I think this is an awesome player. I think this is someone that, yeah, you're not going to have him be like heavily involved as a receiving back, although I think his limited reps there, he looked fine as a route runner, obviously not advanced at all. But this is someone who can be the head of a committee, be the most important player in your backfield, and if you can go get a speed threat with him, you're sitting really well. I mean, for me, I remember like back during the season, and technically this is still possible for the Jaguars if they wanted to go this way. I would probably say they don't because I think Genty's the pick. But you imagine getting a player like Kyle Monangai and Travion Henderson in the backfield together. That kind of combo, I mean, that would be freaking awesome, right? You have two players who have very different ways that they play the game or very different strengths, but also phenomenal blockers, phenomenal effort on the field, like good culture guys for your team. I think that would have been such a fun combo, and if that happens during the draft, that's going to be an awesome backfield for a team, but obviously 1 in 32 chance that even happens. But keeping it simple here, wrapping this up, Monangai, I think, is a good starter in the NFL. I can look past the 40-yard dash because I see an explosive player. You see that on film. You even see it in the testing here. And he's someone who just offers a very high floor. Even if it's a somewhat limited ceiling, I would be completely comfortable having him be my starter. And, you know, on that topic, you'll probably see that when we do our mock rebuild video in a month or so whenever the draft wraps up. There's a good chance he's going to be our guy for that. Final grade for Kyle Monangai, it's a 6.53. This is like right in the middle of your above average starters. I do see him that way. I think he's a good player. You definitely want to add someone to the committee with him, but I do think he can be the most important player in your backfield. Now, Jalen Royals, my next guy here. I have him ranked kind of high. I almost feel kind of bad about this, how high I have him. He is 24th on my big board. And part of this is just there's a lot of players that are graded right behind him for me. But I think with Royals, you're just getting a player that you can easily project to the NFL and say is going to be successful. You look at his size, right? He is 6 foot flat in official measurements, so he has enough size to play on the outside. He's not like a 5'11" and a half guy or 5'11". He is big enough. 205 pounds as well. I mean, you could argue he's built somewhat like a running back in the way that he's built. He is a younger player still at 22. He is not some guy with like a massive frame per se, which to be fair, part of the reason why this is red is because this is a measurement of your players at that position, basically on a range of the biggest to the smallest. And when you get a player like Tedero McMillan, for example, it just throws it out of whack. It's the same with, you'll see it with Josh Simmons later, who y'all know I love, where he's got like red numbers for 34-inch arms, which is ridiculous just because Hall and Pierce exist from Rutgers. But getting back to Jalen Royals here, you look at the speed, and this is the interesting part of him. He is extremely explosive, right? 1.49, tied Matthew Golden's time. He was the fastest 10-yard split of everyone. But the 40-yard dash, 4.42, still really fast. The question is the long speed with Jalen Royals, and I think there is a little bit of something there. I don't think he's the fastest guy down the field. I still think he has enough to burn a defense. He also, with this 40-yard dash, was running on what is not a broken foot now necessarily, but still recovering from that, and called himself about 85% healthy at this point. So this is a player that might be a little bit faster than that time that's listed. You talk about what Jalen Royals does with that athleticism and what he does as a route runner. He is a good route runner. I think you got to see him really show that off at the Senior Bowl, where he goes from Utah State, where there's a lot of screens, there's a lot of like simple routes and a lot of the same stuff, but he goes to the Senior Bowl, tries out some different stuff, and he's so good at separating because he's got that great athleticism. He also knows how to beat cornerbacks and that acceleration that he has. I mean, there was one rep where he was side by side with the cornerback, like 2 yards off the line of scrimmage, which is crazy because the guy tried to press him, saw it coming, took advantage of it, basically avoided him, and then ran right past him. I mean, just immediate separation. You saw a play as well. We're talking about, how physical are you going to be as a receiver? I mean, he literally like knocked the guy down just in like the first 5 yards where you can get physical with guys. Knocked him to the ground. Like Jalen Royals, he brings physicality, he brings the size, he brings the speed, and I think this is a player that can run a more diverse route tree, even though he did not in college. Right? Not comparing him to Brian Thomas Jr., but that is an example of a player where you do see them get better at the NFL level. And I think Royals is another guy you can do that. You're not going to have someone with like character concerns or anything like that. Super cool guy. Got to meet him myself. And I think this is someone who's just going to be a better player in the NFL, especially in a better offense than what you had with Utah State. So I'm a big fan. My only question maybe that I would say, I'll say two things actually. One is I don't think he's a great blocker. I could see him be better in the NFL or maybe give more effort. I just was not like blown away by that per se. And then, what is the ceiling, right? I would not sit here and tell you that Jalen Royals is the ideal wide receiver 1 for a 2. But I think he is a hell of a Robin on offense. I think you get him to Jacksonville with Brian Thomas Jr., you put Royals. Well, you could play him in the slot. You could play him outside. You could play him anywhere. He can play any of these roles as a receiver. But you get him on the field with Brian Thomas Jr., that is an awesome duo of players. I would be a big fan of that. For my final grade on Royals, I have a 6.71. So the range for these star players, it's 6.7 to about 7. So he is just on the low end of that. But still, I do think this is someone who's going to be a really good football player. I have a very high projection for him compared to most people, and I believe pretty firmly in that. Now, getting to another guy who's graded out just right next to him, I think he's only like one spot higher for me at 23. That is Kevin Winston Jr. Now, I'll be honest, I have not watched a ton of film very recently on Kevin Winston Jr., but that's kind of some of what happens when these players get hurt. But you look at the measurements he brought in as well at the combine, the size that he plays with, the speed that he has too, especially the 10-yard split, which, I mean, it's almost what Royals ran, only 0.02 of a second off. Kevin Winston Jr.'s got everything from that perspective, right? Not elite speed, but good speed still. And what he does as a run defender, how he tackles, I mean, he hadn't missed a tackle his entire career, and then maybe I think missed one in like his last game before he got hurt. He's a hell of a football player, and I think if you put him in the strong safety role right off the bat, he's going to be able to play that at a high level. Great run defender. I think the coverage is really good too. There are moments where he could be better. He can make more big plays, but that's going to come in time. This is also a guy I think who could be a good leader for a defense. You saw him continue to be involved with Penn State throughout their run this season, despite being out very early in the year. I think Kevin Winston Jr. is a player with immense potential, already a very good player. You saw from the limited play in 2024 that he was taking a step forward. When you talk about my worst grade here, big playability, the BPA part, the first game had an awesome forced fumble right off the bat. So answering that question very early in the year, but obviously, unfortunately, it was one play, and then he got hurt shortly after. So, that's part of the cloud projection here. Still a very young player. I was surprised he committed, or sorry, not committed. I'm surprised he declared for the draft this year, although very happy he did. The question is if he's going to fall. I think that he is going to probably go at the end of the second round. That is my bet. I could see him falling. There's been a lot of talk about that, but sometimes when that's said so much about a player, you sort of go back to, okay, we're all excited about this because we think he's really damn good. Someone's going to want him. Someone's going to be okay with this, and someone's going to take him early. So I could see that with Kevin Winston Jr., but this is a damn good football player. Gave him a 6.86, so right in the middle of that star player range for me. And he could be more, right? This could be a guy who makes Pro Bowls. This could be a guy who could be the best at his position eventually down the road. He is that type of player. I think he is a blue chip type of prospect. And I would love to get him on the Jacksonville Jaguars because, as we talked about with Wooler, this is a position of need, right? Strong safety. You want to get a guy for the future there. I would love to bring in this type of player. Now, getting to my last two guys. We're going to talk about the biggest my guy that I have this year. Not necessarily from size, although he is the biggest in a size perspective, but Josh Simmons. Holy crap, this guy is a good freaking tackle. He was the first guy that I watched this summer that I just thought, like, this is one of my favorite players in this class. The athleticism is ridiculous for him. He is a phenomenal mover, which makes him a great scheme fit for what the Jaguars want to do. And really the big question kind of going into the year for me was I didn't think his anchor was that great. Still got better, though. And he is so technically sound now in the way he plays, given it was against easier competition early this year. You saw a clear step up from him. And that combination of athleticism, so he's going to always be able to mirror, and the ability to just keep your hands where they need to be sound in your play, it's not a big deal if he doesn't have the greatest anchor in the world, because he can find out a way to beat people, right? He's a smart football player. So I think you have this incredible combination there. And then I had mentioned earlier some of these numbers were red on the left. That is because Holland Pierce is projected in, and I also don't have any players I think will be moving to guard that were tackles filtered into this, so pretty much everyone's got long arms. But this is good size, right? Over 10-inch hands, nearly 10.5 inches, 34-plus inch arms. That's good. And nearly a 7-foot wingspan. Getting pretty close to that. This is good stuff from Josh Simmons. You have the size. You have what really should be an S-tier athleticism grade for me. I'll probably update that before the draft. But a player who is going to be very sound in pass protection, I think as a run blocker, he's awesome there too, right? He has a little bit of that Mauler mentality to him, and I want to get that in Jacksonville. And I would be open to getting Josh Simmons for that reason. Even if we have two tackles, I would find a way to go get him if he is there at pick number 24. This is how high I am on this player. He is, for me, the 6th overall prospect on my board. So very high grade for Josh Simmons. The big question, I could say that plural, because there's technically two. One of them I think is a little bit bullcrap. The injury is one thing, which we have heard recently. I think it was from Jonathan Jones on Twitter. He was saying that the injury news was good, that his knee checked out very well, and that is not as much of a concern as originally thought. That still said, I think Simmons drops just because of what NFL teams do. There was talk about him being available in August. That would be when he's fully cleared. So that is also a problem for the rookie year because you can see players get kind of derailed by that. An example, last year, Jer'Zhan Newton. He was a top player in the class, ended up falling. He did not get to go on the field until like week 2 of the NFL season. Didn't get training camp, didn't get any of those things. He struggled early on, got better as the year went on, but that was just a situation he went into. Could be similar for Josh Simmons here. The other thing that's been thrown out as character concerns, I have no clue where this comes from. It doesn't look like he's some problem in that regard through interviews or anything you see of him. It's possible, like he could be somewhat immature. I mean, he's 22 years old. I get it. Like as a 25 now, 25-year-old myself. I get it, right? Like there's things we got to learn in life, but I don't think it's a big deal like was said. And one of the people who reported that he was very over the top talking about it. I think some of that's just a load of crap, but we'll keep this simple here. Josh Simmons is a very good football player, and I'm confident in the projection and him recovering from that injury to be a top player in the NFL. I think Christian Darrisaw is a phenomenal comparison for him, and Darrisaw is one of the best tackles in the NFL. If I can get that franchise blindside protector on my offensive line, I'm going to do it, right? Like, I'm completely fine with that. And the other thing, too, if you really can't have him play left tackle and you need him at right tackle, if maybe you're another team, or say Anton Harrison doesn't work out long term, which I hope he does, he could play right tackle as well. He used to play there with San Diego State. You could have him go back to that. He is someone who could play on both sides realistically for an NFL team. So, huge fan of Josh Simmons. I have a 7.1 grade on him. That is a Pro Bowl talent, right in the middle of that tier. I think he's just going to be one of the best tackles in the NFL. Once he's fully recovered, fully acclimated to the NFL, you might have a slow first year. So maybe hold off on judging me for this if it goes wrong at first. I think he's going to get there eventually. Last guy here, Abdul Carter. This was one of those guys you watch in summer scouting that you're like, hot damn, this guy is one of the best players in this class. And you know how badly you want him. You know how much, like, if he was available at what his consensus was at the start of summer scouting last year, I would have done that pick in a heartbeat, right? This was a guy who was in the teens in the first round. And that was probably high for where he should have been at the time based off what most people thought. I would have easily done it then. The lowest rank that Abdul Carter had for me this year on my big board was number 3 overall. He is now number 2 because he passed Will Johnson, and he's just going to stay behind Travis Hunter because Travis Hunter is Travis Hunter. But Abdul Carter, even not playing not playing outside linebacker going in this year, being an inside linebacker primarily, you saw every reason you needed why he could be such a potent threat on the edge. And then you even talk about, if you watch the spring game from last year, which I did, that was part of my summer scouting because I really wanted to just see how he performed there because this player excited me so much. He was dominant. He was so freaking good. In the first game that he's lined up on the edge, the limited tape you could find from 2023, it was just incredible what he was able to do as a pass rusher. So he gets moved to that role this year. He struggled a little bit maybe against like Wyatt Milum at the start of the year, and a lot of people use that to prop up Milum, and I'm a huge fan of Milum, don't get me wrong. But, that was Carter's first game on the edge, and he just figured things out quick. I think the speed that he plays with, just the throwing everything and the kitchen sink mentality, I love it. He's got a legit arsenal of pass rush moves so early in his career. What Abdul Carter really feels like to me is Micah Parsons on a sped up trajectory, where he is ahead of time in where Micah Parsons was at this point in his career, right? Micah came into the NFL as a linebacker. He eventually switched to being an edge. Carter's done that in college, and he's performed at the highest level doing that. This is someone, to me, I think can just do it all at a high level. The one question is run defense, but I do think he's gotten better there, and you see big-time impact plays. When you watch him, when they're running the ball the side, he is the guy who is running at the same speed as the running back, sideline to sideline, meets him at the line of scrimmage or meets him in the backfield and takes him down. Probably could have a higher grade than what he has here. I think that's going to come with time. I think he's going to get better at it. Originally I did have questions about his effort in run defense when he played linebacker. Now that he's forced to be a part of it more, he plays well. I think he is good at it. So you have a player who can really do it all, right? Not this elite guy in terms of like size or anything. It's still ample size to work with, but man, he just throws everything at offensive tackles and it works. And he is going to have an impact in the NFL. He was going to be a top pass rusher in this league, and it was really fun to be ahead on that, to be one of the people that had him at the top of my board going into the year, and to see it pay off. It was a joy, right? And I feel the same way about Simmons, although he got hurt, that took away some of it, and some people don't have him as a first-round guy. because of that injury. But Abdul Carter, he was that guy, right? Just the crappy part of it is you want him where his consensus was at the start of the year. Would have been awesome, but the NFL draft isn't until 2 days away now for me. Probably 1 day for you guys when you're watching this. And, he's now projected to go 3rd overall in the draft, and you can't really go get him most likely. That's the crappy part of it. Happened with Devon Witherspoon for me 2 years ago, where he was a guy I loved to get, and I would have taken him probably in the 1st round. He was a 2nd round guy at the time, though. Ends up going 5th overall. It's just part of it. But Abdul Carter is absolutely my guy. Someone I was high on from the start. Really paid off there, and I think he's going to have an incredible career in the NFL. For his final grade, he comes in just below Travis Hunter, 7.38, which is a perennial all-pro player for me, and high up in that tier as well. So if you're getting Abdul Carter, you got to be happy, right? And there's almost a part of me with the Jaguars where it's like if Travis Hunter wasn't an option, but we can move up for Abdul Carter, even with Trayvon and Josh here, I would legit consider it. Just because I think this player is special. But, the draft's going to be what it's going to be. So those are my thoughts. Those are my guys for this year. I could probably mention some other guys I really like too, right? It's more than that, but those are the big ones. The guys that I have been the highest on throughout the year, probably been the most behind of a lot of people in the draft community. And we'll have to see what happens with them. It'll be fun to see in the future. But with that said, that is going to wrap it up here. We are going to be live for the draft here in not too long, right? I think for you guys, it'll be 1 day. I probably plan to have this out on Wednesday. You'll obviously know if you're watching. I don't know if we'll have another video up before. I might do a big board video, just kind of skimming through that. We might also just do that on a live stream. We'll see what happens there. But before we get out of here, I do want to thank our channel members, Premiers here 904, Nightmare Eco, Gator John Bites, Ichi Wiener, Mr. Dolphin, Scrubber Ducky 500, Brian Foster, and Frangies. Thank you guys so much for supporting us throughout the season. It has been a blast getting ready for this draft, even if I think it's probably not the best draft, right? It's a little down, especially compared to 2024. But it's been a fun process, getting to go to the Senior Bowl, meet some of these guys this year, actually do interviews. Probably the most thorough process that I've done. It'll only get better from here. It's always going to be flawed, of course, but it's just a blast to be doing this. And I really appreciate you all making this possible and supporting this channel. So give yourself a pat on the back for that. But we're going to get out of here. I hope you all have a great rest of your day. Let me know your guys for the 2025 NFL Draft. And I'll also throw this out. If you are someone who has put together a big board and worked on that this year, throw it in the comments. Let me see it. It's a lot of hard work to get to that point. Would love to see what you guys think on it, and I'll give you my thoughts on it as well. But with that said, thank you all for watching. Hope you have a great rest of your day. And finally, go Jags.